Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Asian Football Show. This is the 10th episode. So, yeah, we're very happy to make it to episode number 10. Once again, I'm joined by my good friend over here, Arya. Arya, how are you doing?
I'm doing very, very well. It's almost time for the big tournament itself, the Asian Cup. It is around 2 weeks away from us at the time of recording. So we're going to be very busy during that time as well. So expect the Twitter to be, well, and the YouTube to be absolutely booming. So, what are some of the topics we're going to be talking about today? It's going to be a relatively short episode today compared to the others.
Okay, yeah. So today's topic, first of all, before we get into anything, we have to mention what happened in Iran a few days ago. Iran national women's team player Melika Mohammadi tragically died in a car accident in Iran. So both me and Arya, we send our condolences to her loved ones and everyone around her. It's very tragic. Two of her other teammates at Bam Khatoon also were involved in the car accident, Zahra Khojavi and Tahir Khani. They are both currently hospitalized but are expected to make recovery, so we wish speedy recoveries for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate you just don't want to see that in football. Sometimes this sort of thing happens. It's very tragic. It's very, very tragic. And yeah, Erfan and I, we send our condolences to everyone involved. And yeah, it's a very sad moment.
Okay, so let's get on to today's topics. First of all, we want to talk about the club competitions. The AFC Champions League and AFC Cup knockout stage draws went happened 2 days ago. So I'll go through the AFC Cup draws, and then after that, Arya will go through the Asian Champions League draw. So for the zonal semifinals. We have MacArthur FC of Australia taking on Sabah of Malaysia. And then the other semi-final of the Asian zone is the Central Coast Mariners, also of Australia, taking on Phnom Penh Crown, who shockingly made it to the zonal semi-final. I mean, it's amazing to see a club from Cambodia, which is a developing side in Asia, make it to a knockout stage of an Asian club competition. The winner of those two games will play in the Asian zone final, and then the Asian zone champion is going to play India's Odisha FC in the zonal semifinals, interzone semifinals, and the other interzone semifinal is between Abdish Kant of Kyrgyzstan and Taichung Futur of Taiwan. The winner of all of that will play against the winner of the West Zone, which is much less complicated. Al Rifa of Bahrain will play Al Nahda of Oman, and Al Ahad of Lebanon will play Al Kahraba of Iraq. So yeah, it's the last edition of the AFC Cup. So we hope to see some good games, to see a good final, because from next season, as we know, it's going to be the ACL 2, which is still a very weird name. Arya, would you like to take us through the ACL draw?
Yeah, for the ACL draw for the Western teams, we start off with Novbohor Namangan from Uzbekistan, who actually had a very good campaign. They're going to be facing off against Al Ittihad, and they actually did put off a fight against Al Hilal. So I am excited to see what they can do against Al Ittihad. Maybe they can pull off a shocker. We're just going to have to wait and see. For the next one, we've got Nasaf Farji against Al Ain. This is one that a lot of people I feel like are going to sleep on, and I don't think you should. I think it's going to be a pretty interesting matchup between the two. And I think the favorites here will be Al Ain, unless I'm mistaken, but I think they're going to be the favorites to go through. The next one is an all Saudi matchup. It's going to be Al Fayha against Al Nasser. Everyone is expecting Al Nasser to absolutely demolish Al Fayha, if I'm being completely honest. But we've seen strange things in football. Maybe something can happen. But it's going to be interesting to see what happened, and obviously there's going to be eyes on players like Ronaldo and such. So it's going to be pretty cool. And then the last matchup is going to be Sepahan, the team from Iran, against Al Hilal. I was a little bit disappointed to see Sepahan playing against Al Hilal. I mean, it's tough, right? Al Hilal, obviously one of the best teams in Asia. it's going to be a very tough challenge for Al Ittihad. What am I saying? It's going to be a very tough challenge for Sepahan against Al Hilal. But we've seen in the past that Sepahan can be good against teams from Saudi Arabia. They've actually got a good record against Al Hilal, if I'm not mistaken, Erfan. So is that going to continue? We've got some of the best players from Al Hilal that are going to be going against some of the players against Sepahan. So I'm excited to see what Morais is going to bring to the table. Obviously, we're not going to see Neymar playing, so that's a big bonus for Sepahan. Maybe they can pull out something. We're just going to have to wait and see. But it's a tough game. It's a very, very tough game. And it was very similar to last year where Fulad played against Al Hilal, nearly losing to them. Maybe it'll be a repeat. Who knows? Anyways, for the Eastern teams now, we've got Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors FC playing against Pohang Steelers. So that's going to be an all-Korean matchup there. Pretty interesting. I mean, if you're a K-League fan, then this is the matchup for you, really. Next up, we've got the newly changed name of Ulsan Hyundai, now becoming Ulsan HD FC. Maybe in the future they're going to become Ulsan 4K. No, but in all seriousness, they're going to play against Venfred Kofu, the wonder team, really, the underdogs of the whole tournament. Everyone wants them to go far, and that includes me. Venfred Kofu, which, by the way, I'm making a video about, so it's probably going to be out by the time this is also out. But nevertheless, is Venfred Kofu's luck going to continue against Ulsan Hyundai? Because Ulsan Hyundai is a lot tougher than the teams that they faced in the group stages. So it'll be very interesting. Next up, we've got Bangkok United against Yokohama Marinos, which, if I'm being completely honest, looking at that Yokohama team, they haven't been necessarily that amazing in the Champions League this season. I would say that they haven't really taken it seriously. So let's see how that affects them against Bangkok United. And then next up, we've got Shandong Taishan of China coming up against Kawasaki Frontale. So some very interesting matchups. Yeah, Erfan, what do you think?
Staying on the east side, first of all, there are some good ties. Bangkok United, first of all, they impressed a lot in the group stages. I mean, they won 4 games out of the 6 over the likes of Jeonbuk to advance as first place team. And they do, even though Yokohama is an ACL regular and they make it to the knockout stage, Bangkok really do have a good chance of winning this tie. And especially since they're going to be at home in the second leg. And then another tie that you mentioned, Ulsan HD, which might rename to Ulsan 4K, we never know, is playing the wonder team, or the surprise of the tournament, actually, Venturefred Kofu. To be honest, sadly for Venturefred, I think that this is the end of the campaign for them. Ulsan Hyundai dominated the K-League. They were crowned champions once again. And I think unless we see something really crazy, Ulsan 4K is going to take this tie. And the other K-League teams are both drawn against each other. It's Jeonbuk and Pohang. Pohang, a very, very historic side in the ACL. They've won 3 titles, and they have a good record in the competition, making it to the final back in 2021. I think that this is going to be a good game, close game. I hope the Korean fans even show up to make the game even better. The last East region tie is Shandong against Kawasaki, the only Chinese team who've made it to the knockouts, which is kind of sad because we used to see all these Chinese sides playing in the knockouts, the likes of Shanghai and Guangzhou Evergrande, which even won the competition back in 2015, I think it was. So yeah, Chinese club football has fallen off, same with the national team. Let's see how Shandong will do, though. Maybe they could prove me wrong. And then in the west side, now these are sometimes I'm really looking forward to. First of all, Navbahor and Al Ittihad. Like you said, we should not sleep on Navbahor. They were very, very good in the group stages. They even caught up with Al Hilal for most of the group stages. And Al Ittihad, as we know, they're on a very bad form right now. They're not doing well in the league at all. And it's just not looking too good for them. So look out for Navbahor in that game. The other game is Nasaf Karshi versus Al Ain. Nasser Al-Qarashi played very well in the group stages, but Al Ain played even better. I think that Al Ain are definitely the favorites to go through here. Sepahan versus Al Hilal. Now this tie, of course, is a tie I'm sure we're both looking very forward to. Sepahan, even though they lost 3-0 against Al Ittihad, they were awarded. Actually, Al Ittihad would have awarded that win, but they still finished with an amazing record and made it to the knockouts. They can really be a challenging opponent for Al Hilal, even though everyone might say, "Oh, this is an easy game for Al Hilal because of all the stars they have." But I don't think it will be easy at all for Al Hilal. Obviously, it's very hard for Sepahan, but we've seen what they can do. We've seen how strong their attack is, how players like Ramin Rezayan and Hossein Nejad are in good form. We've seen what they can do. So I think it will not be as close as, not as close. I think it will be as not as one-sided as people expect. And then the other tie is Al Fahia versus Al Nasser. And like you said, I think Al Fahia unfortunately have no hope here, and Al Nasser should take this one.
Let's move on to the Turkish Super Cup, which was in Saudi Arabia. I know Erfan has a couple of words to say about that. We're not going to go too in deep, but yeah, Erfan, there's something you wanted to add to that.
Yeah, so the Turkish Super Cup. So what happened was the Federation of Turkey and Saudi Arabia, they signed this deal, to get closer. The Turkish Super Cup was supposed to be held in Saudi Arabia for 5 years. And this was the first year which it was going to happen. The game was supposed to be held in Al Nasser Stadium in Riyadh between Fenerbahce and Galatasaray. And everything was going well until a few hours before the game, when unfortunately there were some, let's say, protests from the Turkish side that they wanted to wear shirts of Ataturk. Ataturk, obviously a big hero in Turkey, their founder of the republic, and they wanted to wear his shirts coming out for the training before the game. And the Saudis didn't like that. They don't really enjoy the political figures, so they got into into a big not fight, but big. They just couldn't agree on what to do. It was kind of similar to what happened between Sepahan and Al Ittihad a few months ago. And then both teams just decided to leave and that they wouldn't play. And right now, it's causing a lot of tension between not only the footballing side of things, but even the governments. I'm not sure what's going on there. I'm not going to get too political, but it's unfortunate for something like this to happen. I wanted to see that game played. It was going to be a good game, I'm sure. And I hope they can come to a resolution about this, even though I doubt.
Yeah, it's just some things that you just don't want to see in football, but it seems that it's reoccurring now. It's happening a lot more. I don't know. Well, we're just gonna have to wait and see. But with that being said, let's move on to our little AFC Asian Cup preview. Nothing too big. Obviously, like I mentioned in the beginning, it is around 2 weeks away, and some teams have already revealed their squads. Now, we're not going to go through every single player necessarily. We're just going to talk a little bit about it. Korea Republic, they've revealed their squads: Saudi Arabia, Syria, China, Australia, India, Iraq, as well as Indonesia. And Indonesia in particular, we're going to talk a little bit more about it in depth because they actually called up a lot of European-based players. Baggett from Ipswich, Walsh from Mechelen, I don't know how you say it, from Belgium, Justin Hubner from Wolverhampton, not Wanderers, the Wolves, Wolves, for the Premier League, Wolves. Jenner from FC Utrecht in the Dutch League. And am I missing anyone? I think I'm missing another person, but that's fine. Nevertheless, you get the idea, right? A lot of European-based players. Now that's all good. That's something that, in my opinion, a lot of Asian countries should try and do. But the issue with this is these players have never played with each other a lot anyway. So I'm struggling to see what Indonesia's idea is, because let's be honest, right? And obviously the opposite can happen, but if I was a coach, and I'm sure you would also say the same thing. It's cool to have all these good players, together, but if they've never played and you're putting them straight up in the Asian Cup, which is a big tournament, it's it's hard to see, what the weaknesses and what the strengths are. Like there's a lot of things that are to be questioned. Essentially, Indonesia are taking a huge risk here because if it doesn't work out, then we don't know what happens with them later on. Are they still going to be called up for a national team or not? What should have been done is, I guess, do this a little bit earlier, right? I think it's a little too late to do something like this anyways. I mean, I know Justin Hubner was called up a few months ago, but he had a little bit, there was like some issues with his passport and such. So like a few players are understandable, but if you're doing all of this a few weeks before the Asian Cup, it's hard to see what the coach wants to do. They do have a friendly, or apparently they have a friendly against Iran. So perhaps those players are going to be playing there. We're going to be talking about the friendlies as well in a bit, but I don't know. For me, it's just, I feel like they've done it way too late. What do you think, Erfan?
Yeah, I somewhat agree with you. I think when teams want to do something like this, they should start maybe at the beginning of the Asian Cup cycle, so around when qualifiers start. Then the players will get to know each other, and as you said, the coherence is very important of how they play together. I mean, except for Justin Hubner, who's just been called up from Wolves. The other players have played like one or two games, but I don't think they've played together. So yeah, that might be the issue, and it might maybe be a risk that their coach, who was the coach again? I forgot his name. But yeah, it might be a risk that he's taking for the Asian Cup. And like you said, it can go either two ways. It can either turn out really good for them, or it could fail. And for Indonesia's sake, I hope that it turns out good for them.
As for the other national teams, I mean, Iraq, they've called up a lot of players, and there's a lot of very, interesting players. It's a lot more offensive, a lot more potent, I would say. It's like a balanced squad. So I would watch Iraq at the Asian Cup. It isn't bad at all. I mean, they've got a lot of European-based players as well, similar to Indonesia. So I'm excited to see what these players are capable of. I'm very excited to see players like Youssef Amin, Ali Jassim, Ali Al Hamadi, which has been incredible in England. So that is to be seen. For Korea Republic, I mean, I'm looking at their squad. It's pretty much the same, unless I'm tripping and I can't see what they've changed. But for the most part, it's pretty much the same players. They've called up that striker from Celtic, Hyun Yu Ho. He's very good. I've seen him play. The regulars, Son Heung-min, Kang In Lee, Woo Young-jong are these guys. So, regulars, very strong team on paper. But again, football is a game that is played on the pitch. So we're going to have to see what they do. And for Saudi Arabia, Syria, China, Australia, India, I think Erfan, you know those better than I do. Like I said, we don't have to go too in deep with the players, but yeah.
Yeah, first of all, I want to talk about the Syria squad. Probably the biggest exclusion of the Asian Cup till now is Omar Al Soma, the Syrian legend, currently playing in Al Arabi in Qatar. He's been playing very good for them over the last few seasons. And it's just really surprising, a player like Omar Al Soma, he's seen as probably Syria's best player, maybe the same as Omar Kharbin. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe Hector Cooper wants to lower the average age of the squad, or I don't know, it's just weird not seeing Omar Al Soma playing for the Syrian national team.
Yeah.
He was kind of their star player. So, and then another team in Syria's group, India. They're, I think, one of only a few nations to only call up players from the domestic league. I know a lot of Indians are not happy with this because they want to call up their dual nationals, who they have a lot of actually playing in Europe, but India has this weird rule that doesn't accept dual nationals, so they can only have players who are playing domestically. And we saw this happen a few years ago with Omid Singh, who is an Iranian player with an Indian father. He's currently playing with Paykan. But yeah, they tried to get him to play for the Indian national team, and he was happy also. He wanted to, but they told him if you want to play, you're gonna have to play in the domestic league now. That's just I don't know what that rule is good for. I think that's just gonna cause the level of the Indian national team to decline. Because if you want to improve your national team, you're gonna have to need your players to play with better quality players. What do you think on that, Arya? What do you make
Yeah,
of
I
it?
think it's bogus. I think it's a rule that is really just hurts the national team more. There really isn't much to add to that. There's we're talking
Mhm.
about players that are being excluded. I think while we're on the topic of it, um, Eldor Shomurodov is going to miss a fair few games for
He,
Uzbekistan.
yeah,
It's still to be seen when he's going to be exactly well, if he's even going to get called up at this point, I don't know. But yeah, he's out with, I believe, a broken foot or something like that. I could be wrong. Nevertheless, yeah, he's injured. And another player that is injured and will most likely miss a lot of games. And this is a very, very big one. I'm talking big. It's Kaoru Mitoma himself from Brighton and Hove Albion. Brighton coach De Zerbi, he said that he's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks, which is it's a big chunk. So it's a big, big loss for Japan. I've seen a lot of people being like, "Oh, it's the end for Japan." I personally think I mean, it is a big loss. Don't get me wrong, but it doesn't make Japan. It doesn't remove them as favorites just because of that. They can easily replace Mitoma with other players. Nevertheless, those are the biggest exclusions, due to injury and such. It is to be seen, remains to be seen if there's going to be others in the next 2 weeks, which hopefully not. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the
yeah.
squads that have been
I'll
revealed.
just add something for the Saudis preliminary squad, which was
Oh,
actually
yeah,
revealed today.
yeah.
Yeah, just not much surprises, but maybe Al Buraik and Sultan Al Ghannam from Al Nassr not being there are sort of the biggest exclusion. Other than that, it's a pretty expected squad. Okay,
I think
so
we I think
moving
we
on
also
from the
missed
squad.
I
Yeah,
think we also missed Australia. I'm looking at their team. It's pretty much all their players, but one that is very, very I guess you could say hyped up is 36-year-old Bruno Fornaroli, who has actually had a very good start uh in the A League. So hey, maybe he can be that guy to lead Australia very far. But yeah, in general, pretty much the same team. Nothing really interesting to add. So we're gonna move up to the last part of the episode, which are the recent friendlies and the upcoming friendlies. Obviously, there might be some more that are announced. These are the ones that are apparently confirmed. Lebanon played Jordan 2-1. Oman played China. Oman won 2-0. The UAE won 1-0 against Kyrgyzstan. And Uzbekistan also won 4-1 against Kyrgyzstan. So Kyrgyzstan not looking good at all. So those are the ones that have been played, and the ones to be played. Do you want to go, or do you want me to breeze through these?
yeah, I'll go through them. Qatar is going to take on Cambodia in Doha. Then we have 3 games in Abu Dhabi: China against Hong Kong, Tajikistan against Hong Kong, as well as Bahrain against Australia. Syria will play 2 games in Dubai against Kyrgyzstan and Malaysia. UAE will also play Oman in Abu Dhabi just before going to Doha. And on the other side of the Gulf, Iran will take on Burkina Faso on the Quiche Island before playing against Indonesia, apparently in Doha. Indonesia will also play 2 friendlies against Libya and Antalya. Iraq and South Korea are probably going to play. I think that's the best friendly out of these games.
Yeah,
They're going to play against each other in Dubai. Kyrgyzstan, even though they lost 2 games, they have another friendly against Vietnam in Doha. And then we're going to have 3 games by Saudi Arabia against Lebanon, Palestine, and Hong Kong.
yeah, like you said,
So
Iraq
yeah,
versus South Korea is very interesting because if Iraq can, hold a decent result, let's say they win or even get a draw, I feel like that's gonna send South Korea fans like crazy. They're gonna start panicking. Probably, I mean, I would panic if that would be the case. You've got your full team and you're struggling.
and when Klinsmann's there, you never know. So
Yeah,
That's even
Exactly.
another thing for them to worry
I
about.
also wanted to add a comment to the Iran versus Indonesia game. Yeah, guys, that game is not confirmed. Apparently, Indonesia confirmed it. There's nothing on Iran's side. The game is up on FootMob, so I guess the game is going to be played. F1 and I have no information. We don't know if that game is actually going to be played or not, which, I mean, I would love to see it. It's a good test for Indonesia. You know, like we've just mentioned, they've calling up a lot of European-based players, so they can showcase what they're really made of. And other than that, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's nothing really too big. I mean, now I'm looking at it. I think every team is playing Asian sides except for Iran, who's playing Burkina Faso. Indonesia is playing Libya too. But I've seen a lot of people complain for the Burkina Faso friendly. I actually think I mean, we're not going to play Brazil before the Asian Cup. So I don't understand why people are like complaining about it. Like we've just went through the list and literally every single team is playing the same amount of level, right? Japan is playing Thailand. They're not playing Brazil. They're not playing Argentina. So I think the friendly against Burkina Faso is pretty nice. You know, very physical team. They've got a few players in Europe as well, in the Premier League. So it'd be a nice little game to watch. And it's going to be in a different place as well. Quiche Island, out of all places. I'm excited to see that. We're going to see how it is over there. It's going to be nice.
I think it's a good plan actually because the weather over there is really similar to one in Doha. So yeah, they did this before the World Cup, so I can see why they're doing this. And another thing I want to mention is this Iraq and South Korea friendly is kind of weird. Yeah, obviously it's a good preparation for both sides, but they're most likely going to meet in the round of 16.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. Maybe it's a little preview of what we'll see in Doha later next month.
It's like I said, because if Iraq somehow managed to pull up with a shocker and beat South Korea, I follow a lot of Korean accounts. I know they're gonna go crazy. They're gonna start doubting Klinsmann, the players. It's gonna be a whole fiasco. So it's gonna be very interesting. That's one that I would really keep my eye on. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Nothing really else to
I
add.
think we covered everything.
And we're going to come back in a few weeks again when the Asian Cup starts. Very excited. And that's it for me. I don't really have anything else to add. Erfan, if there's anything you want to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that we're going to be covering the Asian Cup as much as we can. Obviously the premier competition in our continent. We're looking very forward to it. I'll actually be going to Doha for the knockout stages as well. So yeah, we're gonna have an Asian football show representative at the Asian Cup. Look out for exclusive photos and if you're lucky, even quotes or interviews on our Twitter account.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's it from me. And hopefully we get a good tournament. And hopefully you guys enjoyed listening to our episode and have a good day.
Wait. One more thing, guys. I hope everyone had a happy holidays if you guys celebrated. And we wish you a happy new year as well. And with that being said, Kai Havertz is the greatest player in the world. And yeah.
After Cheshmi. Yeah, goodbye.
Bye, guys. Thank you guys so much. Have a nice one.